Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to So What? Happy Tuesday. I hope you're having a great start to your week. And I hope you're ready for some exciting news because today is the day that our Slice of Summer mystery box is ready and waiting for you to grab up at sulky.com. If you are new to our mystery boxes, these are carefully curated boxes that are project focused, but also have a bunch of goodies in there for you. They are seasonally appropriate, I guess. So this is our summer mystery box. Let me know if you've gotten one of our boxes in the past in the comments and in the live chat here today. And maybe you can share, how you enjoy your mystery box, how you like to use the contents inside. I'm just curious if you tend to make the projects that we sort of intend for the box. Each box comes with at least one, if not more, patterns or embroidery designs, project ideas and inspiration, so that you can open your box and get started right away with a fun project or two or more. And, I know that some of you open up the box and you do other things with those contents. You don't necessarily make the projects that the box was sort of intended for. So I'm just curious to know how many of you actually make the intended projects, or if you go out on your own and make your own thing. We've been doing these boxes for quite a while. They come out 4 times a year with the seasons. So first day of summer is coming up in a couple days, but I wanted to give you guys here watching So What a couple of days of early access. Okay, so before we let everybody know, we wanted to let you know first that the mystery box is now available and ready for purchase so that you can have first dibs. Let's see. Oh, Jana says, I got a golden ticket in the spring box. Still have to make the project though. I hear ya. So speaking of golden tickets, that's another cool thing about these boxes is that 5 boxes have a golden ticket inside that's worth a $50 shopping spree at sulky.com. So if you are lucky enough to get a golden ticket in your box, then maybe you can apply that towards your next box or definitely a future purchase. So that's a really fun surprise, I'm sure, when you open up your box and you see that shiny golden ticket inside. And, you feel like just like Willy Wonka, right? That's not Willy Wonka. Charlie. I feel like just like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory. Anyways, you get the point. All right, let's see. Mary says, I have bought them. I've done both. I make my own and the project. Yeah, a lot of times, there's not a lot of times, but pretty much all the time, there's enough materials and supplies and goodies inside the box so that you have leftovers should you decide to make the intended project or projects. There's plenty of things inside that you can apply to other things as well. We always like to include a little fun notion or a little gift that you can use in your sewing space. Or, maybe an embroidery blank that you can embellish, things of this nature. In our previous boxes, we've had towel blanks with embroidery designs that come with purchase of the box. So there's always extras, okay? So make sure when you do purchase the box, inside of it is a flyer, just a sheet of paper that's printed that'll tell you all about the box, about the items inside. There's also a QR code on there to take you to a landing page where we've outlined every single thing in the box, the items in the box that are applicable to those links or projects or patterns. So it's a really great resource that you can bookmark so that you can go back when you're ready to work on things or you need some creative inspiration. You can go back to that landing page, download your, freebies and gifts, look at other project inspiration that you can use to create something from your box. All right, so make sure you don't open it up and kind of get rid of all the paperwork, because first, if you have a golden ticket, you don't want to accidentally throw that in the recycle bin. You also want to keep track of that flyer so that you have access to that specially created landing page where you can find all of those goodies. So just be on the lookout for that. All right, who else out there has had a golden ticket? Maureen says, I love the boxes. Can't wait to see what's in there. So, you know, we, aside from this just being a box that's appropriate for summer sewing, it has another little theme to it. And I don't know, maybe you all have guessed what the theme is based on, you know, this cute picture that I'm showing you, maybe based on what I have hanging behind me here in my sewing studio. So maybe you've already guessed what the theme is. Clearly, it's the slice of summer. So I am seeing these citrus motifs popping up everywhere. And what's really great about it is about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, I attended a lecture about trends in the craft industry, what trends and motifs and things like that we were going to see popping up in stores and things of that nature, even on ready-to-wear clothing and home decor, let alone, you know, fabrics and crafts and things like that. And these citrus motifs were just everywhere. And I love that I'm actually really starting to see them in stores. I'm seeing lemon-themed things everywhere. Orange slices, limes, all in fabrics, in home decor, cute sundresses and things like that that are in all these great yellows and lime green colors. And I don't know, it's just really, you know, sometimes I go to these trend workshops and then I never see the trend actually trending. It's really hard to predict these things, as I'm sure you can imagine. So I was pleasantly surprised to start seeing all these cute little lemon things pop up. So I think it's a trend that's here to stay all summer long. And I think that, you know, it's a universal motif. You know, everyone loves just a little lemon squeeze, right? All right. So I guess head on over to sulky.com, grab up your slice of summer mystery box. I also wanted to mention that we have a buy more, save more deal on these boxes. So if you purchase up 2 boxes, maybe you want to gift one out to a friend, you will get 10% off your purchase. If you purchase 3 boxes, excuse me, you will get 15% off of your purchase. So it's a great time to gift one to a friend, maybe have a sewing weekend where you both open your boxes together and you can see what's inside and you can make something together. In the past, we've had people challenge each other where, and this happened with a couple people that were virtual friends. They didn't live close together. They did a Zoom call or something like this, or a FaceTime call. They opened their boxes and then they challenged themselves, much like you would do if you're watching Chopped on the Food Network, right? You open your box, you have no idea what's inside, and then you have the rest of the afternoon to just make something from it. And I think that's a really super fun idea, especially if you have, you know, a sewing friend that maybe doesn't live near you. You can challenge each other to open the box and make something inside. And then maybe you gift each other the thing that you made. I don't know. Sounds fun. So you let me know how you use the box. I would love to hear from you. Cheryl says citrus is a fun summer theme. Love that. Jana says, I love all things. I think with a citrus scent, probably should invest in some citrusy decor, including the Sulky Mystery Box. Love that. I really think you guys are going to love the main project that goes with the items in this box. I had a really fun time creating it, and I can't wait to show it to you once you all get your boxes. I don't want to show it to you today because it's going to spoil the surprise, and that's what these mystery boxes are all about. You know, you get to open the box. It's like giving a gift to yourself. You get the idea. All right, Mary says, is this box embroidery themed? I don't have an embroidery machine. Great question. All right, so I will let the cat out of the bag a little bit and tell you that it is not embroidery themed. You do not have to have an embroidery machine to create the featured project for this box. And then the extra goodies that are inside can be applied to any type of sewing. So nope. This one, you do not need an embroidery machine to enjoy that project, to make the project, etc. So thanks for asking that question. If you have other questions about the box that doesn't give too much away, I'm happy to answer those today as well. Susan says, welcome summer. I enjoy the ideas and supplies. That's great. Ooh, Nancy is watching from Alaska. Cool. Love that. Lots of people are experiencing rain right now. Hey, Colleen. She says, good afternoon. Already added the box to my cart. Love that. Okay, Colleen, you're going to love it. I know, Colleen. We are besties. I know you're going to love this one, Colleen. So let me know. All right, let's see. Crystal won a golden ticket last year. Love that. Chris says the material is high quality. There's always lots of thread inside. Love that. Sharon says, I haven't purchased a box in quite a while. I just ordered mine while watching the video. You made a reminder for this morning. Very nice. Yeah, as you know, these boxes go real fast. And once they're gone, they're gone. So for the amazing special deal, you get, I think with this box, it's over $80 in goodies. I'm just going to make sure. If you go to sulky.com, you'll see a big banner for this summer mystery box. So it's only $49.99, which is crazy. And you get over $80, $87.30. That's what this retails for, everything inside. All sorts of full-size stabilizers, threads, goodies, gifts, as I mentioned. Some fabrics, some surprises. So I can't wait for y'all to get them. As you know, we work on these boxes for a long, long time. We're already well into working on our fall box, so a lot goes into these, and I love to hear the feedback and how you enjoy them. Jana says, sometimes I wish we could get a little sneak peek if we are nervous about mysteries. I get that. I understand. You know, in the past, I've actually opened a box here on Sew What and shown most of what's inside. But on the very first day that we're launching it early here on Sew What, I want to keep the whole thing a mystery. And hopefully, I've said enough. I've given you enough of a sneak peek to pique your interest. I don't know. We'll see. All right, let's see. Is the deal good only today? So the special price on the mystery box, $49.99. That is the price of the mystery box. So it's going to be the price until they sell out. And that buy more, save more deal, I believe also does not expire. I'm going to just double check. Let's see. Where can I find that? Okay. So it will be automatically added at checkout. If you add 2 boxes, you'll get that 10% off. If you add 3 boxes, you'll get that 15% off. And it looks like that deal does not expire as well. But again, I want to reiterate that these go really fast. So if you're, even the slightest bit interested, I guarantee you're going to enjoy what is inside. And, I think it's a great way to get your creative juices flowing, to, find that spark of inspiration that sometimes we kind of need when we sit down to sew. And we've kind of done all the prep for you. So you can just get right to the sewing. All right, let's see. Marcia says, ordered my box. Should be here next week. Love that. All right. Always love the mystery boxes. And yes, the discount for multiples appears when you add them in your cart. Thank you. All right. If there's any more questions about the box, I can answer, but I also want to get into today's project that I wanted to talk about. So let's see here. I was really inspired by this particular quilt pattern. It's a free quilt pattern from the American Quilter Society. You might know them more as AQS. I just stumbled upon this pattern when I was kind of searching for projects to make with pre-cuts. I don't know about you, but I love a pre-cut fabric bundle. I'm searching around because I have several over here on my shelf on this side. You can't really see it, but I have fat quarter bundles. I have a couple of jelly rolls, and then I have some mini charm packs. I love a pre-cut because, again, it's something where you can get right to the sewing. And let's face it, cutting and prep usually take a lot more time than the actual sewing at the machine. And I don't know about you, but I would much rather be doing the sewing than the cutting. Okay? It can get really tedious and monotonous. So that's just me. I don't know about you. But so a jelly roll, if you're unfamiliar with these terms, there's, jelly rolls, there's layer cakes. Someone back in the day, I don't even know who came up with all of these names, decided to go with themes of, sweet treats, because why not? Fabric feels like a sweet treat, so why not call it such? All right, so a jelly roll is a bundled fabric bundle package of 2.5-inch wide strips of fabric. And the strips of fabric are just cut along the width. So if you're dealing with a 44-inch wide fabric, you will get a bunch of strips that measure 2.5 inches by 44 inches. It makes it really easy to do strip piece quilts. A lot of the times the jelly rolls have a lot of different colors of fabric in them. Or it'll be themed, let's say, reds and whites, or just the same of one solid color fabric. Or it'll have a bunch of different prints. Like I have a jelly roll that I got in Bali last October when we were on our craft tours trip, and it has a bunch of different batik fabrics. I will just grab it and show it to you. So, not to mention the batik fabrics in Bali are so much more affordable than you would find them here. But at any rate, so this is my batik bundle from Bali. As you can see, I haven't even taken it out of the shrink wrap yet, but I'm kind of saving it for that one special thing, that one special quilt, or something that I want to make. But you could see you get tons, depending on the jelly roll, depending on the fabric company, you will get, different amounts of strips, right? All right, so this is like a jumbo jelly roll. It has tons and tons of coordinating fabric strips. Now, layer cakes, charm squares, charm packs, things like that are all a little bit different. Obviously, a fat quarter bundle is a bundle of fat quarters. A charm pack is going to be 5-inch squares. You can also get 10-inch squares. You get the idea. I'm sure you were all familiar with pre-cut fabrics. So they really just make it so much easier to get right to the sewing. So I was looking up, quilt patterns to use beautiful jelly rolls. Love working with them also because you can use whatever leftover jelly roll strips that you have and do your binding with those as well. Now, they're not cut on the bias, So if you are going to create something that has curved edges, or maybe you want rounded edges on your quilt, and so you're going to, or you're creating something like this where you need your binding to follow that curve, you would want to go with something else that's cut on the bias, or a different fabric that you've cut on the bias to create your binding. But for a quilt where you're just going to have square edges, you can certainly use fabrics cut on the cross grain, or straight across on the width, like these 2.5 inch by width of fabric strips. Okay, so all that said, I stumbled upon this quilt pattern from AQS, American Quilter Society. It's called the Title Quilt Pattern, and the pattern's absolutely free. I linked to it in the blog post that kind of goes over the techniques and things that I'm sharing with you today. So if you are interested in grabbing up this free quilt pattern from AQS, you can find the link to it directly in our blog at blog.sulky.com. I also linked directly to the blog post in the description of today's post. So you can click on See More, or that little button might say More when you're looking at the description of today's live stream. Then the whole description will pop out. You'll find links to everything I'm talking about, including the link for the blog post that contains this quilt pattern. So I liked this quilt pattern for a number of reasons. First off, it's called Title Quilt. And so you kind of get this easy breezy kind of ocean sea theme about it, right? This serene feeling of movement of water. So I really enjoyed that. I also thought that it really reminded me of the Greek flag a little bit, right? Am I crazy? That's really kind of where my mind went, because we happen to be going to Greece next year with craft tours. This is going to be in 2026. We're going to leave in the end of May, early June. Perfect time to go, kind of before the major touristy time happens. And, we're hoping that most of the earthquake recovery efforts and all of that will be well underway by the time we get there. And then, we can patronize these businesses and restaurants and things like that need all the help that they can get to recover from that tragedy that happened a few months ago. So at any rate, since we're headed to Greece next year, and I could not stop thinking about the Greek flag when I looked at this quilt pattern, I had to make it. I also thought it was going to be the perfect size for like a quilt, or for a like picnic blanket, or a beach blanket, something like this. So I believe it's 76 inches square. So it's a good size quilt. It's great for a twin bed. If you need a little decor refresh, for, the summer months, it's a great size, for just a throw on a bed or a couch, something like this as well. And I know there's a lot of, I don't know what the right word is, but I guess pushback for, creating a quilt, going through all of the motions and the work to create a quilt, and then like throwing it in the grass to have a picnic, or throwing it on the sand when you're at the beach. So a couple of things when I was working my way through this, since that is kind of what I intended it for. Obviously, we're not going to use it if there's dew, or, if the grass is wet, things like this, because it's made out of cotton fabrics and clearly it would get wet or dirty, things like this. For the quilt backing, you don't want to go with, a stark white fabric like I did because I really wasn't thinking it through that much. So you want to go with a little bit darker fabric, something that's not going to stain if you do intend to use it in the grass, obviously. Another great thing to think about is when you're adding the binding to a quilt or other type of, throw blanket pattern, and you intend to use it in the grass or out in the beach, you can add some little tabs to each corner of the quilt. And then I've even used the nylon hair ties. I have like a stash of them. It's funny that I say I have a stash of them and then I can't find a single one right here next to me where they should be. Because guess what? I have girls who super duper enjoy these kinds of hair ties, but here's one. So it's a nylon hair tie. There's no little metal, piece in it. So they're these like tangle-free nylon hair ties. And I actually love to use these in the corners of a blanket or a quilt that I intend to use as sort of, a throw on the grass or in the sand. That way, then you would do your final binding seam with this in the corner, and then you'll fold it out to the outside, and you can stake it down. Real nice. Love that. So these are readily available. I get mine on Amazon in packs of like 200 because I like to use them for hair. I also like to use them for lots of different sewing projects. I have featured them in a few different ways. So at any rate, there you have it. Another great tip is to use a pretty lightweight batting, whether you like cotton or polyester. I don't know. I don't like to use a super high loft something if it's just a ground covering. Also, throwing it in the wash before or right after the final binding is done, throw it in the washing machine, give it a tumble dry, and you're going to get a nice kind of crinkly feel to it. When I'm working with pre-cuts, I do not pre-wash my fabric. At the same token, I don't pre-wash the backing either. That way, everything will kind of shrink together. It's going to shrink a little bit if you're working with 100% cotton fabrics, of course. But for something like this, I like the sort of crinkly feel that you're going to get from that slight shrinkage. Everything hopefully should shrink together at the same rate. When you're doing it that way, you can also wash it in cold, air dry it right after it's made before the first use. So those are kind of my overall tips for if you're going to use something as a picnic blanket, beach blanket, something like this. I know people hate when you use the term blanket when you're talking about a quilt. So I apologize if I have offended anyone. So this is what the final quilt looks like. I love this sort of optical illusion it's giving. Also, it's very linear, obviously. We're working with those pre-cut fabric strips. It looks really impressive, right? But when you section out all the blocks, it actually goes together really quickly and easily. I made this in one day, the quilt top. Then I took it to my long arm friend who did a totally different design for the quilt. I went with something that was really flowy and wave-like for the quilt design, which kind of contrasts the linear blocks of the quilt. And I just love the end result. It's simple, but it's effective. It looks really impressive. Even if you're a beginner or have never made a quilt before, this is a really great pattern to choose. So a couple of other things for this, you can see, you still do have to line up a lot of points for this pattern. So first off, I like to nest my seams. I will press them in opposite directions so that when I am piecing them together, I have my seams going in opposite directions and I can match up that seam line really precisely. And what I like to do is I like to put a pin through the seam line that I'm matching, making sure that the pin is along that seam. And that way I can really tell if it's going to match up or not at the machine. Also, I like to use sulky 50 weight cotton thread for my piecing. 50 weight cotton thread is a very lightweight thread, but it's very strong, long staple thread, meaning not a lot of breaking points across it. So, you don't have any thread breakage. It doesn't have any lint buildup. It's very high quality, 100% Egyptian cotton thread. So here you can see how I've pinned along all those seam line joins. And I have those seams going in opposite directions to reduce bulk and also allow me to match up those points a lot better, or those seams a lot better. That's really the only challenge of this quilt, is to make sure that you are aligning those seams when you are piecing your blocks together. Let's see. Oh, about the 50 weight cotton thread. We have some really great assortments of 50 weight cotton thread, but obviously you can also just buy up the colors that you need. It's pretty affordable when you go with our smaller snap spools of 50 weight cotton thread, but you can also get a king spool. And when you buy a king spool of this thread weight, the thread is called Cotton and Steel Thread by Sulky. And the reason it's called cotton and steel, I get this question a lot. People are asking me, is the thread made of steel? I'm like, no, the thread is cotton thread. The reason it's called cotton and steel thread is because Cotton and Steel is a fabric company, and that fabric company partnered with Sulky to create a thread line that coordinates with all of their fabrics. So that's why those bigger king spools are called Cotton and Steel Thread by Sulky. And they have these cute little colored spools, which when your thread runs out, you can use these for other crafting projects. I've seen people make wreaths out of them. I've seen people make little garlands out of them. Super cute because they have these great colors. There's teal, there's purple, there's a yellow color, there's black. So at any rate, of course, we want something also pretty in our sewing room. So the king spools are a little bit more expensive, but you're getting a lot more thread on the roll, or on the spool rather. So keep those things in mind. The reason I'm showing you this assortment is because this is our giveaway today on Sew What. It is called our Blooms and Breezes quilting assortment. Now, obviously, oh, yes, round of applause for the freebie for today's Sew What. What was I going to say about it? I don't know. Blooms and Breezes. It has all these great colors to it. You get all these different thread spools that would be perfect for late spring, summer makes, all of those things. So all you have to do to be automatically eligible to win today's gift from Sulky is put a comment in the live chat, or give me those great emojis. Somehow engage with the post. That's all you have to do to kind of trigger your eligibility for today's gift from Sulky. And then you also will need to like our Facebook page if you're watching there, or subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're watching there. That's the only way I can contact you if you happen to be the winner. And look out for spammers. I have a special way of contacting people so that you know it's actually me contacting you if you are the winner. Okay, so 50 weight cotton for the piecing. You can also use 50 weight cotton thread for the quilting if you want your quilting stitches to blend in with the quilt. Now, if you want your quilting to stand out and be more noticeable, you want to go with a thicker thread weight. So instead of the 50 weight cotton, I went with a 30 weight cotton thread for the quilting. Now, if you don't do your own quilting, which I do like to do my own quilting, but as you know, I'm turning out projects really quickly here on Sew What to bring you lots of variety and bring you a project every week. So I sent this to my long arm friend to do the quilting for me. It's a great tip to bring your own thread with you when you take your quilt. If you take your quilt or quilty projects to a long armor, you can bring your own thread. That way you know exactly what you're going to get for your end result for your quilt, especially if you want to feature a Sulky Blendables thread. Blendables, as you know, have lots of different colors in the thread spool, and I absolutely loved using this one. Was called Ice. So it had the white, the blue, a little bit of gray. I thought it was perfect for the wave design that I chose on the quilt. Now, certainly you could go with a solid color in either that blue or white if you happen to create your quilt in the blue and white. But of course, you could totally go a different direction and maybe you want to do black jelly roll strips instead of the white, and then a really bright, vibrant fuchsia or something like that instead of the blue. That would be really beautiful, and a little bit more of a like fall vibe to it. At any rate, I'm sure you can find the Blendables thread that goes with the fabric choices that you make for your quilt. But this one was, I always seem to find like the perfect one. Even if I'm working with a thread or a fabric that has lots of different colors in it, you'd be surprised what you can find when you browse the website for the Blendables thread. Now, Blendables are different from variegated threads. Variegated threads are very methodically dyed, so you have these chunks of color that repeat across the thread length. When you're working with Blendables thread, which there are no other threads out there like this, only Sulky has Blendables thread, they are randomly dyed across the thread length, so you have these colors that run into each other. They blend, right? That's why it's called Blendables. So instead of having these blocks of color, you have like a watercolory effect going across the thread. So it's really, really nice for quilting because you don't get these chunks of repeating colors. You just have this nice sort of color wash going across your quilt. So that's what I would suggest for this quilt. You can see after I get it back from the long armor, I do my own binding, and I love to do traditional binding where I sew it to the right side of the quilt, fold it to the back, and then hand sew all of the rest of my binding along the quilt back. But you might prefer or enjoy first applying it to the back of the quilt, then folding it over to the front and top stitching it down. I will do that if I'm in a pinch and maybe I'm making something like a table runner or a placemat. But when I'm making a full quilt, I really like to hand sew my binding. All right, so after your binding is done, that's it. Your quilt is done. It's ready to throw on, the grass for a picnic or on some nice, clean beach sand, or of course, to hang on a wall, to put on a bed, to put on, a couch, something like this. You get the idea. But I love how this turned out. I went completely traditional and I used the same colors that were in the actual pattern. But again, if you are planning to use this out on the ground or in the grass, you might want to go with some darker fabric colors just in case, just in case you don't want grass stains on your pretty quilt, things like this. I completely get that. So here you can see a little bit closer up detail of that quilting pattern that I went with, which is these like swooping waves going across the quilt. So it really contrasts that stark linear pattern. And I just really enjoy this combination. But there are several different ways you can go about the quilting, obviously, whatever you enjoy. So yes, Blendables stitch out beautiful. I agree with you, Betsy. Okay, please repeat what weight are the Blendables? Great question, Linda. So our Blendables actually come in 2 different weights. You can get them in 30 weight cotton, which is what I recommend for quilting, machine quilting, top stitching, decorative things like that. They also come in our 12 weight thread. 12 weight is considerably thicker than the 30 weight thread. So if you are planning to use 12 weight, that would be more for like hand quilting, sashiko work. You can definitely still use it in your machine. You need a larger needle eye though. So you need a size 116 needle instead of a 90-14. We will use a 90-14 needle with that 30 weight thread and then a 116 needle with the 12 weight thread. I also like to lengthen my stitch length when I'm working with the 12 weight. That way you don't have, stitches that look like they're almost forming on top of each other because that thread weight kind of gets in the way of that stitch formation. So you want to lengthen your stitch length probably up to a 3.5, maybe even a 4.0. and you'll get that look of hand quilting, but using your machine. All right. Could a long arm handle 12 weight thread? That's a great question. I think it really depends on, honestly, the brand of machine that you're using. I know some long arm machines don't even like the 30 weight thread, but slow the machine speed down, do some test runs with it. Whether you're doing your own long arm quilting or if you are bringing your own thread to a long armor, I would just discuss with them, have you ever worked with this 12 weight thread? Can I bring you some to kind of try out to see if we can do that for my quilt? I guarantee you they would be happy to do some test runs for you. And maybe they will find a new thread that they love using for things. I like using the thicker weight thread really for little hand stitching details. Sometimes I'll do a quilt where I use like a 50 weight thread and I do straight line quilting, and then I'll come in between those straight lines and do some hand stitch, running stitch details using the 12 weight thread, just to kind of mix and match it together. All right. Is there some sort of guide to tell us what size needle one should use? Great question. I get this question all the time. So at sulky.com, we have a resources area. And in that area, you will find a guide for organ needles. That guide will tell you recommendations for your needle size based on the thread weight that you are using. Just keep in mind that the needle size refers to the needle eye, and the type of needle refers to the type of sewing that you're doing. So the size 9014 is going to go with the thread weight. 9014 is usually for like a thread weight of basically 30 weight or a little bit thicker thread. I go to an 8012 if I'm working with 40 weight thread. I'll go to a 7010 if I'm working with 50 weight thread. I'll go up to a 116 if I'm working with the 12 weight thread. It's so many numbers. It's so many things to remember. So a guide, a PDF, things like that. Also, if you go on our website and let's say you're looking at an Organ Needles product. Let's say you search for an 8012 universal needle. On that product description page, there will be a PDF guide that you can refer to regarding needle types and sizes. All right, I hope that's helpful. Is the 30 weight thread like 3 threads of floss? No, not really. So our 12 weight thread equals 2 strands of floss. If you add the 30 weight thread to a 12 weight thread, that would be more like 3 strands of floss. Hopefully that's helpful. Okay. Do you suggest slowing the machine speed down with the 12 weight thread as well? Absolutely. All the time I suggest slowing the needle or slowing the sewing speed. Even if you're working with, let's say, a 40 weight poly deco thread, maybe you want to use a 40 weight rayon thread for quilting because you want that sheen. You really want your quilt to have almost like a sparkly feel to it. You can go with a 40 weight thread, such as rayon or poly deco. I would slow the machine speed down for that as well. And it's hard for me to say that because I love sewing with my foot to the floor. Okay, let's see. 12 weight cotton, also perfect for embroidery. Absolutely. It's what I choose for hand embroidery, and for cross stitch applications for handwork of all kinds, really. All right, let's see. Yes, Anita says, I will look at the guide for those needles as well because I have a good selection of them that I've gotten in mystery boxes. Yes, I love that. I really always suggest starting with a new needle when you're starting a new project. Especially if you have done an embroidery design that's like 40,000, 70,000 stitches. We know we have. new needle when you're done with that design. You just never know if, sometimes I'll pull my fabric away, not even knowing that my needle is slightly down into the fabric. I'll hear a sound or, almost like a boing, that's my needle like springing back on itself. And then always err on the side of caution and swap out that needle if that happens. You could have a slight bend to it, even if it doesn't look like you have that. And then you go to sew your next quilt block or something like this, and you're having all sorts of problems with the thread. Your thread is breaking. Your stitch is not forming properly. 9.5 times out of 10, it's because of a problem with the needle. Sometimes it's that maybe you threaded the machine and your presser foot wasn't up. So the tension discs were not open when you threaded your machine, and then you go to sew and you have loops with your stitches. They're not forming properly or something like this. That would be the 0.5 out of 10. All those other times, it's usually a problem with the needle. So if you cannot remember the last time you swapped out your sewing needle, do it today. Do it today. All right. Let's see if I've gotten any more questions coming in. Remember, as long as you are commenting, giving me those great emojis, somehow engaging with the post today, you will be automatically eligible to win today's gift from Sulky, which is our Breezes and Blooms and Breezes, 50 weight cotton thread assortment in these beautiful colors here. There's actually a quilt pattern on our blog that features all of those beautiful threads in the quilting and in the piecing. All right. Denise says, what was the name of the thread you showed earlier? Ice something. So this is a kind of close-up view of our 30 weight cotton thread, and I believe it's just called Ice or Ice Glacier. So this is that beautiful white going into the gray, going into the blue, and it just worked with this quilt pattern so nicely. And again, the featured quilt pattern today is called the Title Quilt Pattern, and it's from the American Quilters Society AQS. There's a free link to it on our Sulky blog, and you will find that blog post linked directly in the description of today's post. All right, perfect. Barbara says, I can always use thread. I hear ya. All right, love the comments today. Love it. All right, and I know it is hard to find clean beach sand these days, right, Noreen? Isn't that? Everyone's laughing about that. All right. Donna says, love the quilt. Betsy says, the Blendables stitch out beautifully. All right. Kathy says, I love using black as the backing. It shows off the fabulous quilting with the fun threads I use. That's a good point. I did this rainbow strip quilt a couple of years ago using jelly rolls. I got a jelly roll in all the colors of the rainbow. And I just did a very simple strip quilt with strips alternating. And I used black fabric to offset all of those rainbow colors. So I literally did the quilt with red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple in all different shades. And then I separated all those strips with a strip of black fabric. Then I used black on the backing, and I used black binding. And it's one of my favorite quilts. So easy to sew. You are literally just sewing the strips together along the long edges. It couldn't be simpler. And then I could, go really crazy with the quilting. And so what I did was, in all the red sections, I did red thread quilting, then orange. So on the whole front and back of the quilt, that rainbow theme was going across it. And if you turn it around to the back side, you see this rainbow of thread against that black backing, and it's stunning. It's stunning. For such a simple quilt to sew, then you can really have fun with the quilting and let the quilting, take more time than the piecing, and have so much fun at the sewing machine doing that. All right, rainbow quilts are always beautiful. I'll have to show that one off next time because it's another really great way to use pre-cuts. All right, Maureen says, where do you post pictures of finished projects? If you want to share your finished projects, you can join our Facebook group, actually. It's called Sulky Stitch and Post. All you have to do is search up Sulky Stitch and Post on Facebook, ask to join, we'll let you in, and then you can post your pictures there for us to share out and enjoy. You can also ask questions there, and we are monitoring it all the time. So we're in there answering questions. We also like to give out coupons and fun deals over there specific to our Facebook group members. So you can join there and post all of your pretty projects. You can see a lot of mystery box projects there that people have made in the past. A lot of our New Year's Eve sew-along bags are posted there. So it's a fun place that kind of, takes the noise out of the rest of your social media feed, because you can go on there and it's only people that, love to sew and quilt and create and work with sulky kits and sulky thread and stabilizers. So it's a nice focused, place where you can feel free to post things without judgment and things like that. All right. The name is Simply Ice. Thank you, Esther. Appreciate that. I thought so, but then I always start second guessing myself when I'm coming live to you. Susie Q says that thread pack looks full of possibilities. Absolutely. All right. Well, Barbara says, I would love to see that quilt. You can also, if you go to blog.sulky.com and just search rainbow quilt, I'm sure it'll be the first thing that pops up, so you can see it there as well. Lola says, I haven't tried a mystery box, but I will give one a try. Great. I think you will love it. Everybody head on over and grab up your mystery boxes. They're on sale now. Special, couple days in advance here for So What viewers. So you can head on over and hopefully one or more of you get one of these golden tickets. There are 5 boxes, random boxes out there that have the golden ticket inside. So I hope that you will be a lucky winner. I also hope that you will try our the title quilt pattern by American Quilters Society and give those 30-weight blendables a try for your quilting. Make sure to do your piecing with that lighter weight thread, the 50-weight cotton thread, and you'll have great success. All right. And if you are interested, because I have piqued your interest with that Greek flag, you can check out our Greece tour happening in 2026 around May, June time. You can check out the whole itinerary using the link that I posted in the chat, or the link that I posted in the description of today's live stream. You can head on over to Craft Tours to the Sulky page, locate that Greece tour, check out the itinerary, get on a payment plan if you need to. Find a roommate. They will hook you up with a roommate if you want to travel alone, but you want that double occupancy price. While you're there, you can also check out our Bavaria trip to Germany and Austria happening in December of this year. And it's going to be an absolutely fantastic time. Few spots remain before this one is sold out. So if you are thinking about traveling, heading to those Christmas markets in Germany and Austria, seeing locations where The Sound of Music was filmed, this is just such an inspirational trip. Perfect time of year to go to those Christmas markets and get in the holiday spirit. Find all of those great treasures that you can bring back for gifts and things like that. You'll absolutely love it. All right, so many things we talked about today, so I hope that I'm leaving you with some creative inspiration to head on to your sewing machines and sew up something great. And, Anita says, I can see my sister being my traveling companion to Bavaria. Love that. I hope you will join us. I would love to meet you and hang out and create some projects and all the things. All right, Crystal says, I ordered my box. And remember, buy more, save more with these mystery boxes. If you grab up 2 boxes, you'll get 10% off. If you grab up 3 boxes, you'll get 15% off. So some great deals that you can grab up for your Slice of Summer mystery box. I can't wait till you guys get them in the mail, open them up, and start telling me everything you love about the box. Start showing off the projects that you create using the items in the box, or going on your own, going rogue and making something else, because the creative inspiration strikes you when you open up that box. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining me today. Be sure to tune in next week for another So What. I have another great launch to share with you next week. So I am looking forward to spending another Tuesday with you.